haven't had this much attention since the trial. And now as then, I expect to go away after this, except this time I'm going to Washington, D.C. I thank you for the invitation and for affording me this opportunity. And also I want to apologize to a number of you because I know during the past several weeks you have repeatedly made some effort to talk to me about this. And I apologize for not being able to accommodate to you. It's inconsistent with my general attitude towards the press. But frankly, until recently I had not made a firm decision. And I had promised everybody who talked to me that I would not give a prior release until I did make a decision, and that's why I'm here today. Hopefully all of you can participate rather than one or two getting some advance notice, and I hope you'll understand that. I've given a great deal of thought to this. I've read articles and pundits from people who suggested what I should and should not do. And I acknowledge that there are good reasons why I should not run. I know them. But there are better reasons why I should. And good reasons have to give way to better reasons. Therefore, I will be a candidate for Congress from the 6th Congressional District this year. Among the many inquiries I got is a question about whether or not I can run. Let me put that to rest. The first article of the United States Constitution plainly states the qualifications for running for Congress. You must be over 25 years old, and clearly I meet that qualification. You must be a citizen of the United States for over 7 years. I was born and reared and lived in Louisiana all my life. I clearly meet that qualification. And the other thing is that you must be an inhabitant of the state from which you're running at the time of your election. I don't know whether that means you could run from another state and then move in at the time, but that's irrelevant because I've been here all my life and I've lived in the 6th District for 41 years. I have children living in Livingston Parish, grandchildren living in there, same in Baton Rouge. Trina and I live in Ascension, and so does one of my children. Two of my children, actually. I forgot about Eli. So, once and for all, without question, I am qualified to run. When I was in Congress in the late 60s and early 70s, there was a congressman from New York named Adam Clayton Powell, who was in some kind of difficulty back home. And the Congress of the United States, after his election, had attempted to refuse him admission into the Congress. In the famous case of Adam Powell versus McCormick, who was then the Speaker of the House, and I knew them both, the Supreme Court said what the qualifications are as articulated in the Constitution, and went on to say that no addition or greater requirements should be made or could be made by any state. Powell versus McCormick set the stage, and his progeny have clearly established that that's where it is, and so once and for all, I'm positive I can run, and I'm confident I can win. Now, I know that some people, probably many people, worried about my age. Well, there's a guy in Florida, 101 years old, running. And by the time I'm his age, I'll be in my 7th term. I'll paraphrase Ronald Reagan about that. I'll address that issue straight on. It should not be an issue. Younger candidates should not be penalized because of their youth and inexperience. Therefore, their age should not be an issue in this campaign, and I will not make it an issue. Well, probably all of them could beat me in a foot race. But friends, this is a political race, and you can expect the outcome to be different. Now, I served this state for many years. I assume that I'm well known, and I hope that my record will justify people considering supporting me, but I have plans. I'm very interested in running for Congress because I feel that I can accomplish something, if not immediately, but in the long run, to help make my country a better country and to probably address the needs and issues of the 6th District. What do I stand for? Number one, I intend to get on the Public Works Committee and on the Agricultural Committee. Why? Because the petrochemical industry, the Mississippi River, and other infrastructure very important to the development of this area. I'm very familiar with that, and I want to be able to be in a position of influence to help. In that regard, I intend to try to recoup the $80 million that the government once provided for us, which our governor refused to accept, to initiate a study for some high-speed transportation system between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. Not going to happen in my lifetime, but I think we need to study the proposition and determine the feasibility and where it should be established. In addition to that, I've been talking to General Honore and others about the aquifer in this area. Many people do not realize it, but the freshwater level is beginning to lower itself, and we want to try to work with industry to use more water from the Mississippi River and less from the freshwater aquifer. Long range, but it's something that needs to be addressed, and I intend to start on it. I'm also familiar with the needs and desires of farmers. The sugarcane, soybean, cotton, other farm enterprises are important to the economy of this area and important to the job market. And I will be working with farmers to make things better for them. That, of course, is easy to say, creates no serious problem. But there will be issues in the campaign that no matter what position you take, there will be some criticism. Look, I did not vote for Obama. Where I was at the time, there were no voting machines. But I would not have voted for Obamacare had I been in Washington. Not because I do not agree with the intent of the legislation, but because I feel, and history has proven me correct, that it is too fraught with pitfalls and unknown dangers, and does not, as was promised, allow people to maintain and keep their insurance if they're satisfied with it. And that's an unfortunate bad development. On the other hand, the Supreme Court has validated the legislation. It is the law, and we're going to have to deal with it, at least until Obama is out of office, because it will not be repealed during his term. Having said that, I think there's some provisions of the act which are very good. I think that people with pre-existing conditions should not be deprived of the opportunity of getting insurance. I think people who have children in college or dependent upon them should be able to stay on their policies until they're 26 years old. I think the issue of portability is a good one. Why should a person have to keep his or her job in order to keep his or her insurance? He or she should be allowed to get another employment and maintain the coverage they had initially. We should allow people to buy insurance across state lines. Maybe they can get a better deal in some other state, and that should be an option that people have. So I'm going to work with other people in the Congress to try to get those amendments made, at least until we can make an addressment on the general issue of Obamacare. Now, on a controversial nature, among the good reasons in the bill is one which provides for Medicaid coverage for people Thank you. For people who are underemployed, unemployed, children without adequate health care service, and old people who have limited incomes. 300,000 to 400,000 people in this state are in one or more of those categories. The government will pay for the cost of the insurance for those people for 3 years, 100%, and thereafter 90% or more. For some reason, the governor of this state has declined to accept the benefits of that program. That's his decision. I disagree with him. Now, if you're not one of those bleeding hearts who believe the words of Jesus as contained in the book of Matthew, that we should care for the least of these, and in so doing we are caring for him, then I'll give you as a conservative a reason why you should be for the program. Because if these people in 2014 suffer from some dread disease or horrible accident, they're not going to sit home and writhe in pain and wait to die. They'll show up at the emergency room where hospitals are required by law to take them whether they can pay or not. Two things will happen to you. If you need to go to the emergency room, you'll get there and find it crowded with people who cannot otherwise get coverage. And second, since the hospital may not charge them, the amount of the bills will be factored into your bill, and you and or your insurer will end up paying for the service. Nothing at all is more important to me than the life of a child. Nothing is more important to me than the ability of people in this time and age to be able to get treatment from dread diseases. And I'm going to work in Congress in an effort to try to override the governor's decision. Don't know that I can, don't know that there's a possibility, but I'm going to try, because I cannot go to bed at night knowing that there are 300,000 to 400,000 people in this state who may need help, who are not getting it, and it is available. The money we save the government by not participating in the program to help our citizens will end up helping the citizens of other states, something I'm sure that our governor is concerned about given his frequent visits there. I've always been concerned about the health care of our citizens. I built 3 hospitals while I was governor and modernized every other hospital, including big charity, which for reasons not necessary to go into is now no longer big charity. Well, I know that the role that I take today is an important one. It's important to me and my family and to my friends. But I want you to know that I'm going to give it every effort and hope that in so doing, I can end up being the congressman from this district and hopefully lend some peace and quiet to all the acrimony that goes on in Washington. I don't understand. When I was in Congress, Democrats and Republicans met in principle compromise and got things done. Now it's one fight after the other. If the president is for something, this group is against it. If this group is for it, another group is against it. And all they do is argue and complain and cry, and nothing is accomplished. I like to believe that based upon my Cajun mother's advice and her attitude, I have learned how to work with people of different persuasions. And I believe that I can sit down in principle compromise with both sides and work things out for them. 49 years before the birth of Christ, a general in Italy named Julius Caesar was in Gaul, which was a province of Italy. Gaul was separated from the rest of the nation by a river, the Rubicon. Rubicon came from a Latin word, rubio, which had come from another word, which meant red, because the river had a red tint based upon the red soil on its banks. The rules at the time was that if a general crossed that river into the main body of Italy, he would be subject to execution. But Julius Caesar knew that the citizens of Italy under the Pompey rule were unhappy and not being fairly treated by government. So he took it upon himself with his legions to cross the river. Well, he did so, in spite of the fact that he was advised that his life might have been in jeopardy. But he was concerned about the country that he loved so much. So he crossed. The evening after he crossed, he looked back at the river and said in Latin to his lieutenants, "Jacta alea est." The die is cast. Today, I crossed the river. And it's symbolical that this red river has some reference to the red political condition in the 6th Congressional District, of which I'm aware. But I have no argument with that. I'm not one of those Democrats, which I am, who have some hard feelings towards Republicans. I don't like some of the things the right-wing Republicans stand for, as I don't like some of the things the left-wing Democrats stand for. This country and Edwin Edwards are in the middle, accommodating the wishes and needs of everybody. I believe government is made to serve people. I'm concerned, as I've traveled this state and this district, that people seem dissatisfied, that they're unable to get in touch with anybody. I could not tell you how many times people have told me I have this problem or that problem, but nobody will listen to me. I can't talk to anybody. And I would say, well, call your senator, call your representative, call the governor. But I get the same response. Nobody answers and nothing happens. Well, when I'm in Congress, you can call me. I may not be able to help you, but I'll take your call and I'll talk to you, just as I did in the 16 years I served this state as governor. Ladies and gentlemen, jacta alea est. The die is cast. And I hope you will join with me in making this district a better district, because we have that potential. Thank you.